Hey girl, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Naomi and I do all things motherhood, lifestyle, and faith. So if that's your jam, make sure you subscribe down below. For today's video, we're gonna do something a little bit different. On my Instagram, I did a poll recently basically asking you guys what y'all would like to see from me next. A day before my birthday, I posted a screenshot on my Instagram stories outlining all of the life lessons I learned before 24, and y'all were really digging it and wanted to know all the things that I basically jotted down in my notes. So for today, I'm gonna tell you the life lessons I learned before turning 24. So these are the notes that I jot down. I basically broke them up between personal and faith. This year was the year that I really ventured out into my faith journey, into my walk with God. First, I'm gonna start with the personal, and then we're gonna hit faith a little bit later. The first one I have is forgive yourself for the hurt, the unhealed version of yourself afflicted onto others or yourself. Then let it go. And this one was a major one for me because I struggled with unforgiveness, especially within myself, for things that the unhealed version of myself did to other people. When you're in a time of despair, when you feel like there's nothing else you could do wrong, or like what's the purpose of life really, you do some questionable things. For me, especially after I got out of college, then I came face to face with the things that were unsettling me, like deep down to my core. That's when kind of God revealed to me, you need to forgive yourself, and then you need to let it go, because you're not that person anymore. You've come so far from that unhealed, traumatized version of yourself. You're not her anymore. So you have to give yourself some grace. You have to acknowledge where you are right now and acknowledge the fact that you're not that person anymore. So why are you continuing to basically put yourself down with the things the past version of you already did? If you already made apologies to whoever, even if they didn't accept it, like you did what you can to move forward, and now like that's what you actually have to do. So that was one of the big lessons that I learned. I have to forgive myself for the things younger me, the unhealed version of me, didn't know any better to do. And then I just simply have to let it go, because once you let it go, girl, from there you feel the burden lifted from your shoulders and the weight lifted off of your shoulders, and you just feel overall better because you're a new version of you. You're not that past version. So always remember that and just move forward, girl. Next, we have spend your money on things that will make your life easier or give you your time back. As a mom, this is one of the major things I've learned. If I have the money to spend on something that will make my life easier or give me my time back to spend with my family, I'm gonna do it. It's really easy to get caught up in the stigma that, oh, you're a mom, you have to do everything, you can't outsource anything, this is the job you signed up for, this, that, and the third, da-da-da-da. No. If it's gonna make your life easier, if it's gonna give you your time back and, a little sanity to your brain, do it. Whether that's a HelloFresh subscription, whether that's getting a Sam's Club membership, buying in bulk, that's another thing. Buying in bulk was the best thing that I could have done for myself, especially if you have a bigger family and you find yourself going to the grocery store literally every week. Girl, go get yourself a Sam's Club membership. Why are you doing it to yourself? You spend less money and it lasts longer. Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense. Moving on, my next lesson that I learned was you are the most valuable thing. Put effort into taking care of yourself. And this was another thing I learned on my motherhood journey, especially in the beginning when you're in that newborn phase, when you're freshly postpartum. It is so easy to lose yourself because you're so caught up in making sure you keep your baby alive, first of all. I was in survival mode for like the first 6 to 7 months of my postpartum, and I was in severe depression as well because I wasn't taking care of myself. Like, I didn't care to get out the house. I didn't care to get dressed. I was always tired, so I always wanted to lay in bed after taking care of my son. It was like I didn't really put in the effort to make time for me or to do things that would make me feel better. And that's something that if I can go back in time, or for my next baby, whenever, you know, God decides to give me another child and expand our family, I'm gonna focus really on making sure that I not only take care of my baby, but that I take care of myself too. In my first postpartum, I was just pouring out of an empty cup and just overexerting myself, and of course you're gonna fall into a hole of sadness, or you're gonna feel like, wow, I spent all of this time really neglecting myself, and that's such a sad realization to come to. Even if you're not a mom, it is so easy to just forget about yourself in everyday life. Like, you're trying to build your career, you're busy in college, or you're busy in school trying to just make your life better and make a better living for yourself, that you forget to take care of yourself. Whether that's some sort of self-care, like it could just be as simple as one night where you just have a bath and you put on a face mask. Like, you just pamper yourself. Like, it's so important to love on you, because at the end of the day, all you're gonna have is yourself. Like, yeah, you have family, but at the end of the day, everything is going to pass. People pass on, people move on with their lives, friendships fade away, and you're always going to be left with you. So you have to make sure that you feel good about being alone with yourself, and that you know how to prioritize yourself and make yourself feel good. Moving on to the next thing that I have here. That hobby, aka addiction, isn't good for you or freeing you if you're using it to escape your reality or suppress your emotions. This was a big one for me. Honestly, all of them, they're huge, like, light bulb moments for me. The more that I think about it and the more that I actually say it out loud. But I used to be addicted to marijuana. I would abuse it real bad. I'm telling you, once I woke up to probably when I fell asleep, I would always be smoking. I would always be eating an edible. I was always trying to suppress my feelings because I was so broken at the time. I didn't want to feel any of my emotions at all. Any way that I can just escape or find a temporary solution to not feeling my emotions or realistically getting through my trauma, I would do it. And it doesn't have to be like you abusing a substance. That can be you sleeping too much. You always love to sleep. That always used to be one of my other things. I would always want to sleep. I'll be sleeping any chance that I get, and that's not normal, that's not healthy, and that's a sign from your body that something is wrong. If you're finding yourself leaning into something to basically escape from your reality, that's a pretty clear indication that you have some things to work on, girl. Next, we have awareness is everything. I say this all the time, life is spiritual. Like, this life that we're living in, it's more than a physical realm, and unlearning and breaking those generational traumas and fears is so important for you to actually live your life and not be consumed by like the faults of the people that came before you, whether that was your parents or your aunt or your siblings. Like, we all have things that we struggle with, and most of those things can be transferred onto you unwillingly, unknowingly while you're in your childhood. But once you become an adult, it's your job to tackle those things head on and stop them from basically being transferred to your children whenever you had them. Once I really entered motherhood and I had my son, I became more aware of the traumas within my own family bloodline, whether that was depression, drug addiction, feeling loneliness, having intrusive thoughts. It's my job to deal with those things so that my son doesn't have to fight those same demons. You know what I mean? It's all about awareness. Like, you really have to be aware with not only what's going on with yourself internally, but, you know, whatever you feel it internally, it's going to show up in your external life circumstances. Awareness is key and actually living your life and not being plagued by things that will cause you to diminish the quality of your life. Moving on to some faith lessons I've learned before I turned 24. The first one is once you genuinely, the key word, genuine. Once you genuinely start to take your relationship with God seriously, He will reveal His presence to you and show you how good life actually is with Him. One thing that God has revealed to me this year is the importance of being intentional and of being genuine, especially when it comes to Him. A lot of people will try to tell you getting close to God is basically about religion. If it was about religion, He would have never sent Jesus to come down and save us. Back then, especially in the Bible times, girl, they were religious. You hear about the Pharisees and the kings and all of the rat they were doing. Yeah, them boys know how to get down to being religious. It's really not about that. Like, God doesn't care for you doing crazy stuff in His name but not even caring about Him at the end of the day. It's about building a genuine relationship, and once you tap into that, oh yeah, He's gonna show you who He is, and He's gonna show you how quickly He wants to elevate you to the next level. It's all about being genuine with Him. One thing that really helps me is looking at Him as a person. A lot of people place emphasis of Him just being this supreme, all-knowing, omniscient being that you have to fear, and they try to make you believe in God by putting the fear of God in you. That's not realistically the way to do it. After all, He gave us free will because He wants us to choose Him. Like, He doesn't want us to be pushed into believing Him. He wants it to come out of the genuine efforts of our heart. Just be genuine in your relationship. Be intentional in building one with Him, and He will, I promise, He will show up for you, and He will guide you through your walk with Him as well. Next, we have to truly experience and get closer to God. It's about relationship, not religion, which I touched on in the last lesson. This is just really emphasizing the relationship part. I grew up as a Catholic, so I was so used to going to Mass for the 1 hour and taking my communion and saying my prayers and doing the rosary and doing all of this extraness. That was just our family religion at the time. You just do what your parents say. You go to church because your parents go to church. But I never had that real connection to God in a Catholic church as I do in a Christian setting that I am now. I focus more on establishing and making efforts in my relationship with Him than I do with being a religious person. Because like I said before, it's not about religion, because even then religious people were doing horrendous things. So really, what weight does it hold to be religious over having a relationship with God? There's this song that really reminds me and kind of brings me back to this lesson. It's called Monday Morning Faith. And in the lyrics, it basically says, like, I want to be with you more than just Sundays. I want to know more than my mother's faith. I think that connects so beautifully with this lesson. Truly, having a relationship with God, it's your relationship. It's not an extension of your mom's relationship, of your dad's relationship. It's your personal relationship. And that's really the only way you're gonna find yourself getting closer with Him and learning more about Him is if you put the work in. You can't go and piggyback off of another person's faith because it can only take you so far. You have to develop your own faith in Him so that you can basically grow that deeper connection, because it's just like any other friendship. You can't go off of word of mouth of other people about this person that you're friends with. That's your relationship between you and that person, not you and that person and the person that told you this, that, and the third about that person. You have to form your own opinions, create your own experience. You have to hang out with them on your own time. It's all about the effort that you put into it. The more effort you pour into God, the more He's gonna show you how faithful He is, how good He is, how much He can elevate your life, how much He will transform your life, because you're showing Him, these are all of the steps I'm taking to grow closer to you. Help me in my faith. there's nothing wrong with being an unbeliever. I think that's really where God works the most in, because he wants to truly show you how good he is in this world that is filled with so much despair. Bring that to God. Bring everything to God. I talk to him literally as he's my best friend, and it's in a respectful manner. Do I have, little faith some days? Yeah, but I bring that up to him and I ask him to help me in my unbelief. That's like one of the most powerful prayers you can pray is, God, please help me in my unbelief. Please help me on this journey that I'm walking with you, because it's not easy at all. And whoever says walking with God is easy is lying, because even him himself said it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be so worth it, and I'm going to be with you every step of the way. And it's something so comforting about that. Once you start to put God really at your center and, again, surrendering to him, he's going to show out for you. I promise you that. Moving on, you'll be surprised how God's favor will overflow in your life when you wholeheartedly surrender to and obey him. This is a nugget, because a lot of people always say, oh, why don't I feel God working in my life? Like, why doesn't he answer my prayers? Why isn't he showing up for me in the way that I want him to? And to burst your bubble, if you're not being genuine to him, what makes you think he's going to do the same for you? If you're just praying to him like, oh, I want this new BMW, or I want this new house, you're just praying for him for things that are materialistic, how genuine is that? Like, he's not a genie that you can rub a lamp and he's gonna just poof give you everything you need. No, everything is based on a relationship and surrendering. We need to be more intentional about the way that we show up for him, just as he is when he shows up for us. As humans, we are wired to sin and be imperfect beings, so our way is not going to be the best, even though we may think it is at the time. Our own sinful nature and our own selfishness will always get in the way of what God ultimately has planned over our lives, no matter what intentions we have behind it. In your walk with God, you need to learn how to surrender and bring your thoughts, bring your dreams, bring your desires onto him, because he ultimately will let you know, okay, you had good intentions here. We just need to tweak how you're putting out your actions so that it can fall in my will and it can occur. Or this is a good idea you had here. We just need to tweak some things so that it can be a more genuine approach in how you do things. And then boom, here, you can have it. Really, you need to surrender and obey. Once you do those two things, it's literally insane how much he will unlock for you. It's like a door opening from heaven, and basically he's just sprinkling all of the blessings, all of your dreams that you had in your mind, because he does speak to us. Like, that's another thing, and we bring it back to the awareness. You have to be aware. Baby, he really do be speaking to us. It's a matter of us listening and opening our hearts to receive. If we're not in the right heart posture, how can we ever be aligned with his will if he's up here and we're all the way down here? We have to kind of meet him as he's meeting us, and once we get like to that middle ground where we connect, girl, it's insane how his favor will overflow in your life. And that's how I found him working in my life, is when I surrendered and then I obeyed him, along with just having faith and believing, like truly believing that he will come through for me. My last one I have, there is so much beauty behind having a big heart and being attacked with your emotions. I am a huge empath. I feel things to the nth degree, and I always used to think that was my downfall. I specifically remember praying to God, and I was like, why did you create me with a heart this big? Like, I never want to feel this way towards others when they just do me wrong. Having feelings, especially if you're a fellow empath and you can relate to me, you know that every emotion you feel is just heightened, whether it's sadness, whether it's happiness, whether it's anger, it's always heightened. So it's like when you're living your life outside of the will of God, those emotions literally consume you and can get you to a place where mentally you're not right. You feel like, I don't want to keep giving all of myself to people who don't care about it. Eventually I came to this epiphany that I actually have the heart of Jesus, and that's something so beautiful to experience, especially when he shows you how to have control over those emotions and how to use them for his good. You can have someone being the cruelest person that they can ever be, but the love that you radiate out of them, instead of trying to match their energy like everyone says to do in these days, you kill them with kindness. You show them love, because you know how other people act towards you is not how they feel about you, but it's about how they feel about themselves. If they're reacting out of anger, if all you ever see them is being sad, it's like there's something internally that they can't heal, that they need a little glimpse of Jesus to be like, oh, like there's some hope for me. That's how I see my heart now. I see it as a blessing. And I transformed my mindset into seeing it as a blessing instead of a curse, because I can do so much more good with expressing my emotions and relaying those emotions to other people than the bad that it can do to me. So yeah, that was basically some of the life lessons that I've learned before turning 24. If you guys like this video, please make sure to give me a thumbs up so I know you're enjoying the content, and comment down below if any of these life lessons resonated with you, which one resonated with you most, or if you can just relate. I would love to hear from you guys and pick your brain about it too. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you like our little sit down Big Sis chat, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.